Hello, and welcome to Gittel Talks About Books. I'm Gittel Hesselberg, and the book we are talking about today is 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak, the same author who wrote The Bastard of Istanbul. This book also takes place in Istanbul, and it's really quite interesting. It begins with a prologue, which is titled The End. And this is where we meet our main character, Leila, who's known as Tequila Leila. She's a prostitute, at least she was. Now she's dead and lying in a dumpster. And the book begins part one with the mind. Leila's dead. Her heart has stopped beating, but her brain is still going. And for the next 10 minutes and 38 seconds, her life flashes before her eyes. And so in flashback, we see her life, see how she came to Istanbul, how she came to be a prostitute, and the tragedies she faced in her life. And she's waiting for her friends to find out that she's dead. She has 5 of them. And in the first part of the book, The Mind, we get a minute-by-minute account of her life flashing before her eyes. And interspersed between some of those minutes, we see her friends learn their stories and learn how they became friends with Leila. The first one we meet is Nostalgia Nalan. When Leila first came to Istanbul, she got a job working in a brothel as a prostitute. Across the courtyard from the brothel was a furniture factory. And a lot of the workers used to stand outside and look up at the windows to see if they could get a glimpse of the girls. And sometimes they would sing. And one day, Leila heard a particularly beautiful voice singing a song. So she did something she never did. She opened her curtains and she looked out and she saw one of the furniture workers singing. She opened her window and she spoke to him. And he was very nice with beautiful eyes. And on subsequent nights, she looked for him, but never saw him again. Years later, she encountered him during a roundup of prostitutes. She was one of the women who were arrested, and she was sharing a jail cell with another woman, another prostitute. And she looked at the woman and she recognized the eyes and she heard the voice singing a song. And she realized who that prostitute was. That was the furniture worker. He had since undergone surgery and become a woman. And because of the memories, his nickname became Nostalgia Nalan. The second friend we meet is Sabotage Sinan. Sabotage Sinan is from the same village Leila is from, and he is the son of the lady pharmacist. Leila gets sick with a fever, and they tried everything, all kinds of poultices, all kinds of home remedies, and nothing was working. And they tried sending for the barber, who also practiced medicine, but he wasn't available. He was out of town. So the next best thing was the lady pharmacist. Her father didn't like that idea, a lady pharmacist, but he had no choice. The lady pharmacist came and she brought her son with her. She was a single mother. And the son treated Leila very nicely. And they became friends. And they were friends up until the day Leila left to go to Istanbul, when she could no longer stay in her village. Eventually, he also went to Istanbul. Where did his name Sabotage come from? Leila had a stepmother, and the stepmother became very religious. and wouldn't allow Leila to read newspapers or listen to the radio. And Sinan, her friend, was able to do that. And so he would feed Leila all the news of the day. And just as saboteurs were feeding information to people, she felt that he was her sabotage against her stepmother. And that's how that name came about. The third person we meet is the first friend that Leila made in Istanbul, Jamila. They met each other at the hospital where they were being tested for STDs in order to maintain their license as prostitutes. And they got along very well. Jamila had a stepmother who she did not get along with. And that is how she ended up in Istanbul and ended up as a prostitute. And they became very close friends. The fourth one we meet is Zainab 122. Zainab is somebody that Leila met after Leila had been attacked with acid. Luckily, the acid only hit her in the back. She had turned away when she realized she was about to be attacked. Otherwise, her face could have been disfigured. And after she had recovered, she met Zainab. Zainab was a dwarf. And she used to say there are 122 ways to spell her name. Plus, she was 122 centimeters tall. And she got tired of answering the questions, so she changed her name to Zainab 122. And finally, the fifth one, Hollywood Humaira. This was a singer. And Leila met her on the street one day when a cat had been attacked. And they both encountered the cat about the same time. And they found an emergency vet, the vet who didn't want to work on this cat at all because the cat had no chance of living. But they persuaded him. And so he patched up the cat. And the cat must have used up 8 of his 9 lives. But she survived. So that is Leila and her friends. And that is part 1. Leila, having been found in a dumpster, was taken to the morgue and she had no family, at least no family who wanted to claim her. So therefore, she was buried in the cemetery of the companionless. Her friends did not like this. They said, she's not companionless. She has us. And this takes us to part 2, which is titled The Body. The friends were horribly upset that Leila was buried in the cemetery of the companionless, and they knew something had to be done about it, and they hatched a plan. And they carried out their plan somewhat successfully. And that takes us to part 3, the soul. Leila's soul had left her body and now was floating free. And she was happy. No longer alive, but happy. There's a lot of good in this book. We learn how important friendship can be, especially when your family abandons you. But there's something about this book that I wasn't happy about. Leila is not the first prostitute to be murdered in Istanbul. She's the 4th. And 4 prostitutes have something in common other than just being prostitutes in Istanbul. And we see what this is. But there's no follow-up. We know someone who is responsible for their death, but we never see them pay the price. And that is a thread that is left hanging that should have been tied up. But it's a nice book. Again, it's 10 minutes, 38 seconds in the strange world. And the 10 minutes and 38 seconds refers to the time from when her heart stops until her brain stops. The last 10 minutes and 38 seconds as her life flashes before her eyes. I'm Gittel Hesselberg, talking about books. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe. Have a good day.